Matthew Tukaki, Executive Chairman of the National Maori Authority, because I tell you what, there's been a war of words over co-governance and essentially race relations in this country. David Seymour has been getting a kicking from people like Willie Jackson. Kelvin Davis absolutely lost his lunch in Parliament last night and was raving about the intergenerational unfairness meted out by his family. And he looked across the house and said, your, grandfathers and fathers colonised my grandfather and father and great-grandfather, and it was all completely mad, actually, I thought, from Kelvin Davis in Parliament last night. But instead of having a mature debate about issues of race, co-governance, and how we move forward, supposedly under the auspices of the Treaty of Waitangi, that debate is fast descending into a shouting match. And a guy online, and does a bit of talkback, Matthew Tukaki, is a guy who sometimes I think fuels that shouting match. But we're going to get him on this morning. And I'm also wanting to talk to Kirk Hope this morning about that Business New Zealand lunch yesterday. And I want to build on from Ian Taylor's comments this morning about the government's resistance to cooperating in any way with businesses over COVID, and the fact that we got a budget coming out and some real storm clouds gathering not only on the horizon of the national economy, but I think everyday New Zealanders are facing a tough time ahead. Don't forget, at any time you want to call in, and you will have seen with Tracy, sometimes I'll throw the format of the program out in order to have a open, free and tolerant debate. She just fell, Tracy, you just fell into every hole of the conspiracy theorist. All right, we are going to go now to Matthew Tukaki. He's the chairman of the National Maori Authority. He's been open in his criticism of the ACT Party leader David Seymour over time. And he's joining us today to weigh in on what can only be described as an ever-worsening war of words, not just between David Seymour and Willie Jackson, but Kelvin Davis weighed in Parliament yesterday playing the cry bully victim card about supposedly the sins of the fathers and grandfathers and ancestors of opposition MPs doing terrible things to his family. Well, he shouldn't take it so personally. No one who colonised anyone is alive in New Zealand today. Matthew, kia ora, welcome to the platform. Nice to have you with us.
Mate, great to be on your show. Love the platform. Everybody should download the app.
Good on you. Okay, there's a beer in that for you. Hey, Matthew, you and I have talked privately about the issues facing this country, and I know on your show and on your Facebook, and you're a bit of a Facebook addict and a Twitter addict from what I can see, you take... And I'm not being rude to you, I think you have a way of engaging people sometimes with hyperbole. But the issue of co-governance, the issue of how the Treaty of Waitangi is applied in the administration of this country, and the different perceptions that different groups of New Zealanders have about that is, to my mind, a very important debate that we need to have in this country. We need to have it openly and honestly, without actually calling each other's names and looking for common ground. But it seems to me in the last couple of weeks, Willie has really, he's just lashing out in some ways, and now we've got Kelvin playing the cry bully in Parliament. Is this the way to move this debate forward?
Oh, look, I think a couple of things, Sean. Number one, I think that Willie's comments about David Seymour and, what did he say, that useless Maori or whatever it is probably born out of frustration. David and the ACT Party have been on a mission to create policies that would basically say that the aspirations of Māori from the signing of Te Tiriti, the Treaty of Waitangi, we've gone as far as we can go. We're not going to go any further. And by the way, we're not going to have this conversation about solving problems around deprivation. And by deprivation,
isn't he just more saying, and you can look at different, isn't he saying one person, one vote? That's how a democracy works. And actually, we cannot have a country that gives one group of people, by their antecedents or their ethnicity, different privileges than another.
Yeah, but Sean, I think this is the unique nature of New Zealand, which is the national conversation we need to have as adults, not as children at four paces. The reality in this country is we don't have one person, one vote. We have one person, two votes. We vote for an elected MP and we vote for the party that we might like, and we don't have to.
You know what I'm saying? Everyone's vote is equal. Everyone's vote is equal.
But no one's suggesting that in a new system of government, well, I'm not suggesting anyway, in a new system of government or whatever the government system might be, that Māori will have some sort of special vote for something else.
Okay, hang on. Okay, let's talk about that. Rotorua, the legislation proposed in Rotorua would give a Māori vote more sway than a Pākehā vote or a non-Māori vote.
But there's the thing, proposed legislation that was knocked down, and David Parker did the right thing by saying that legislation was unsafe. So in many ways, this is a bit of an exercise in how do we perfect the model of New Zealand's government, because this is not just about the Treaty of Waitangi. This is a conversation we're going to have as a mature adult conversation about future constitutional arrangements of New Zealand, for no other reason that other countries in the Commonwealth have gone down this path as well. The Bahamas, Jamaica, Sri Lanka has already been down this path, Pakistan, Fiji, etc. What is going to life be like?
Oh yeah, Fiji, that is a shining example of how to run a functional democracy, mate.
Mate, I thought you were going to say Sri Lanka for a moment there, but the point is we have to have a conversation about what our future constitutional arrangements will be. Will there be a single house of government? Will there be an upper house of government, a legislative council like there was in the 1950s? I don't know. These are questions that all New Zealanders should be asking, not the sorts of things that the ACT Party are putting out there, which is just, let's just shut down the Ministry of Māori Development. By the way, while we're at it, let's get rid of women's affairs, let's get rid of ethnic communities and Pacific peoples too. Because what that says to people is that we're not going to have a mature conversation. We're just going to shut down anything that doesn't appear to be of that holistic European model that we're familiar with. And that's not fair, and that's not good for anybody, and that also isn't democracy.
All right. So you're just saying that well, how are you meant to engage with David Seymour when you're basically calling him a wolf, a dog whistling racist?
Well, I didn't call him a dog whistling racist.
Well, come on, in code, that's what you... A dickhead.
No, I've been brutal. No, I've been brutal in my assessment of David Seymour for a couple of reasons. And it's because what David likes to do is throw little grenades out there, and then they explode and go off, and then he runs away. He runs away. You don't see him fronting for debates. You don't see him fronting up, wanting to debate people on the merit of the argument, and that's what frustrates a lot of people. Now, if David Seymour wants to debate me, I will be anywhere. I will go anywhere. I'll sit in any room, even if that room of people doesn't like me. I will go there, and
we did ask him on this morning, and his people said no, they're working on the budget and stuff. So I just want to throw it out there that we did invite him to join you this morning. Mind you, we also invited Willie to debate David this morning, and Willie said, I think basically the message we got out of his office was Jacinda's told me to shut up while we work on the budget.
Well, that doesn't surprise me either. But Sean, this is my point. David, you can't go throwing grenades out there. You can't go saying you're going to shut this down or that down or expunge Māori interests and rights for whatever reason and not want to come out and debate the issue, especially when he's taking.
You are a great one. I've read your social media feed. I've watched your talkback thing. You are a great one to be criticising someone for throwing out incendiary grenades, man.
Yeah, but that's my role. I'm an advocate, right? That's my role. I'm a lobbyist.
Well, he's a politician, isn't that his role too?
Exactly. That's his role as well. So let's get into a room and debate the issues together. See, I'm not scared, Sean, of fronting up for the comments that I make in public. I'm not scared. I will front up for a month of Sundays. You tell me where I need to be and I'll be there. David, where are you, brother? Where are you? You know what I like about Don Brash? At least Don fronts up. Don and I had a bit of a debate about these issues on the AM show last year. Don has got the guts and the temerity to actually front it. David does not.
Except mainstream media have now completely cancelled Don because they're all scared of their advertisers, which I think's wrong. And we're going to get him on this program. Maybe I'll get you and Don together for a chat.
I don't think you should cancel Don. You know what? Respect to Don. He was a fantastic Reserve Bank governor. God, we need him now. And he followed his convictions and he argued the point. And I watched his speech to Massey University the other week, right? So Don fronts up. David, it's not hard, mate. Just front up.
All right, look, I want to move on to someone else who I don't know made a particularly worthwhile contribution to the issues we're talking about. Kelvin Davis launches off in the House last night and kind of makes an intergenerational argument that opposition MPs are all terrible colonialists because his forebears were colonised by their forebears. That's hardly an helpful way to proceed in this argument either, is it?
Oh, look, I think everyone just needs to have a mature conversation about the facts.
Do you think Kelvin Davis was having a mature argument in the House last night or playing cry-bully?
I think my mate Calvin Davis is being a politician acting through frustration about the policies of the opposition. I think that's what's going on here. And I would just say to everyone, hey, calm the farm a little bit, everyone. Let's have a mature conversation about what's going on in our country. And if that means toning it down a bit, dialing it down a little bit, let's dial it down. Let's be adults in this conversation, not children.
All right. So you would agree that you say David Seymour's got to grow up and be an adult. You're going to tell Kelvin Davis and Willie to grow up and be adults as well?
Oh, mate, can you imagine me telling Kelvin and Willie to grow up and be adults?
I mean, I can't imagine you telling them anything and them paying any attention.
It's great for ratings. No, my message is to everyone on all sides of politics. Look, we've got a serious conversation that we need to have about the future constitutional arrangements of this country. The role of Te Tiriti, the Treaty of Waitangi, in those constitutional arrangements, how that will impact our national governance, not co-governance, but national governance. What is the future for this country? Let's have that conversation. And I think it doesn't do anybody any good when we're just throwing barbs at each other constantly and consistently. Look, even me, I need to probably tone it down a little bit as well. But again, out of frustration of not debating the issue or the kaupapa as such, instead it's kind of like I'm just going to scrape the bottom of the barrel for votes as much as I can because my only strategy is to be re-elected and to potentially put myself in the role of, say, for example, kingmaker in the next at the next election. We've got to have a conversation well above where we currently are.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you there, and perhaps people like us having a chat on forums like this is a way to start to get there. Matt, really lovely to have you on the platform for the first time. I'm sure we'll continue our conversations again. That is Matthew Tukaki. He is the Executive Chairman of the New Zealand Māori Council. He is also a broadcaster.